Hello friends. Today we are going to dive into a topic that I am kind of obsessed with, which is how I organize our family's life for that back to school, back to routine, fall madness. If you're new around here, I'm Camille Stiles. I'm the editor-in-chief of the lifestyle site CamilleStiles.com, and I'm the founder of the brand Casazuma. I'm also a mom to 12-year-old Phoebe and 9-year-old Henry. And the reason I'm giving you all this background is just to say that getting organized is about so much more than work. We are multifaceted. We have so many different parts of our lives, from work to family life to social stuff to self-care to projects that we're working on. And my approach to organization is really to take our lives, to look at them holistically and to take into account all these different parts of ourselves that are so important. Before we get into it, I want to thank our sponsor for today's episode, Target. If there is one brand that truly helps me get it all done, it's Target. I can get everything I need, from my groceries to beauty supplies to back to school stuff. I definitely rely on my Target 360 subscription, which gives me same-day delivery on anything I need. Let's get into it. In this video, I'm going to really break it down into 4 main areas: creating systems, establishing family schedules, meal planning, and back to school prep. And to be clear, why I'm talking about being more productive is not so that I can just work harder or get more done. It's really about working smarter so that we can free up space in our lives for the things that are most important to us, so that we can get the stuff that we need to do done, but also be able to recharge and spend time with the people we care about. Creating systems means building structure into our lives that allows us to be more productive. Instead of reinventing the wheel every time we do something, we have these healthy habits in our lives so that they become almost second nature, like brushing your teeth. Some of the different tools that I use to create systems in my own life are Google Calendar. This is how I manage our family's schedule. Asana. This is how our team manages projects. So this is where all things work live for me. Evernote is my creative space for developing any new ideas that I'm working on. And then I'm a big fan of having some analog tools. I always have a dedicated notebook within reach where I can jot down ideas that come to mind or notes from meetings. I find that the act of writing them down just helps me to synthesize ideas differently in my brain than if I just hear them. My Sunday night planning session is a system that I put in place for my life that makes such a big difference in how I feel starting a new week and how productive I am throughout the week. Here's what I do. I take my page, I divide it into 3 sections. The first one is big picture. These are my big, major areas of focus for the week. If I only get a few things done, I want them to be these things. Then I have my task list. This is where I break those big things into smaller, more manageable tasks. I basically have a running list of all the little things I need to get done that week. Then I have my prayer list. And this is where I take the things that are usually on my mind, but out of my control. I get them down on paper so I can pray about them through the week, but also just release them. I also use this time to take a look at my calendar for the week and remind myself of the major things that are happening on my schedule that week. I make sure I'm leaving myself enough time to realistically get them done. I feel like this is really important. So often we underestimate the actual time that something needs. If I have a big meeting for work, have I allocated time to prepare for that meeting? And did I put in drive time on my calendar? This just helps me stay on top of things so that I'm not trying to squeeze too much into too small of an amount of time, and also helps me be on time for things and not rushing from point A to point B, which is a big goal of mine this year. Which leads me to our family schedule. During the fall, things are definitely more structured and a little bit busier, so I can use this time at the beginning of the week to really just align mine and my husband Adam's schedules, make sure that we have all those little organizational things, carpools, kid pickup and drop off, date night. Just make sure everything is there on the calendar so that we are on the same page at the beginning of the week. Let me break down my calendar just a little bit, because this is really where the magic happens. I try to be pretty organized with having different calendars that all live on my Google Calendar. I have our family calendar, my work calendar is divided into different color-coded sections, which I'll explain. And then I have like things that are just personal that aren't really work-related, but that need to happen. These might be like coffee dates with friends or a workout, etc., etc. One thing that I do that's really important is I add what I call my non-negotiables first. So these are things that I want to prioritize, but that could easily get sort of lost in the shuffle if I'm not really careful. So these might be things like my morning routine, walks with my husband, kids activities. I also have space for meal planning at the beginning of every week, because if I don't put it on my calendar, it probably isn't going to happen. And I can just make sure that I'm carving out time to spend with friends and family so that those things don't get crowded out by work stuff. Then I schedule in my work. So I do my best to batch my work activities on certain days. So if I'm shooting content for the site, I know that I'm already going to be photo shoot ready and have my hair and makeup done. So I'll try to go ahead and schedule any other shoots that I need to do on that same day. Just as important, this helps me remember what to say no to. So if I have a day that's carved out for writing and really getting in my creative zone, I'm not going to schedule a Zoom call on that day. I found that for me, task batching really helps me make the most of even those kind of little pockets of time. It helps me just stay streamlined and focused in my thinking. And probably most importantly, it helps me prioritize the things that are actually going to move the needle on my business and my goals. Organizing my schedule this way also helps me just make sure that I'm prioritizing time for self-care and quality family time. Fall can get so busy. It's so easy for things to get lost in the shuffle, but I don't want pumpkin carving and going to our favorite corn maze and freshening up our house in a cozy way. I don't want those things to get lost in the midst of crazy schedules. And that way we can just make sure that we're prioritizing family traditions and creating great memories together instead of just getting through the busy season and trying to race to the finish line. Okay, one of my top tips for staying organized each week is devoting some time to planning out our meals at the beginning of each week. And the way that I usually do this is I'll get out some of my favorite cookbooks, I'll look through them, I'll peruse our recipe archives on CamilleStyles.com. I will think about seasonality, and I'll also look at our family calendar for that week so that I can see how busy we're gonna be on each day and how much time I'm gonna feel like prepping when I get home at night. Once I've identified like 4 or 5 dinners that I wanna make that week, I'll create my shopping list with all the ingredients that I'm going to need. And one of my best time-saving hacks during the school year is to order my groceries. With my Target 360 membership, I can get same-day delivery so that I can plan my meals on a Sunday morning and then stock my fridge by that evening. It's so nice. And I can make sure that I have everything I'm gonna need for my kids' school lunches that week. One other time-saving hack that I really lean into when things get busy are freezer meals. And this is a way for me to have a nourishing home-cooked meal on the table even when things are crazy busy and we all get home and we're starving. What I do is if I'm making a soup or a stew or something in a pan like enchiladas or lasagna works great, I'll go ahead and I'll make a double batch and then I'll freeze half of it. And I am telling you, there is no better feeling than getting home at the end of a long day, you're really hungry and you know you have a great, healthy, home-cooked meal ready to warm up in the freezers. I will link a few of my favorite freezer meals in the description so that you can see some of the recipes that I love to double batch and freeze. I actually love designating some time at the end of the summer to just get mentally organized and prepared for back to school time. I think it speaks to that part of me that loved shopping for new school supplies as a kid. I've always just loved that clean slate feeling at this time of year. And one thing that we always do as a family is we do a Target family run all together. We will go to Target, we'll get backpacks, lunch boxes, school supplies, water bottles, and it's really fun for the kids to get to choose these things for themselves. It gets them actually excited about heading back to school, and it helps us just make sure that we're ready to go and have everything that we need. Once we get home, we designate a spot where all that stuff is going to live. For us, this is our mudroom. We have one closet where backpacks, lunch boxes, sports supplies, pretty much all school stuff goes. This helps eliminate just a lot of clutter so that that stuff isn't spread out all over the kitchen. And it also helps eliminate chaos in the mornings. When we're rushing out the door, the kids aren't searching for their lunch boxes because They know they're in this designated area and everything just lives there all the time. One small thing that makes a big difference for us is just to think about establishing routines as back to school time approaches. We try to start shifting bedtimes a little bit earlier and shifting wake up times a little bit earlier to just ease that transition so it doesn't feel like such a shock to the system when we all have to wake up so early for back to school. So meal planning also extends to school lunches. Since my kids are kind of picky, I found that it's really helpful to sit down with them before the school year starts to just make a list of anything they would like to see in their lunches, from certain granola bars to what fruits and veggies they will eat. That way, during the year when we're stuck in a rut and can't think of anything to pack in our lunches, make sure that I'm picking some of those things up when we do our groceries at the beginning of the week. And it kind of helps us just like break out of that school lunch rut. My kids are definitely at an age where I'm involving them as much as possible in the packing of their own lunches. And so advanced prep really helps. The night before school, I'll have them help chop veggies, pre-prep snacks and baggies, and just make sure we're ready to go so that in the morning we're not scurrying to pack lunches at the last minute. I hope you guys are ready to tackle this fall season and hopefully make it the best one yet. If I had to boil all of my tips down into one main thing, it would be embrace simplicity. Remember, you don't have to do it all. The key is to figure out what matters to you, prioritize that, and just let go of the rest. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Be sure to drop a comment, let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you next time.